Thank you so much for being here and getting up early on a Sunday morning to have this conversation.
Any special instructions, Laura?
Just come with an open heart and open mind and just be willing to share your story. That's all I'm asking.
Beautiful. Like, I didn't know if we had to break out the pen so we can get our Jezebel juice on. But, all right. Here we go.
Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, together, releasing. We're teaching, we're moving. Together, together, we're learning, discerning. We're striving. Together, together, we're leading, connecting, transforming. Together, together.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Laura Joseph, and we will be talking about Jezebel this morning. But let me just tell you a little bit about who I am. I am a preacher, I am a healer, I am a teacher, and I am a therapist. And I am the co-founder of my organization that helps women to empower themselves and to just break through so that they could be the best that they can be. My organization's name is By Design, helping women to reach their full potential. I have been a therapist for over 10 to 15 years, so I'm dating myself right now. And I just so enjoy working with women and have them work through their traumas and any obstacles that really block them from just succeeding and being the best that they can be. So I'm glad to be here with you today as we go into this conversation. And today I want to have a conversation. This is not a lecture. I don't want to just be hearing myself talk. I want the community to engage with me and just talk about this topic. But before we begin, I really want to take time because I'm a woman of faith, and I like to just take a moment to take a deep breath in, all of us collectively. So let's do that. One deep breath in and hold it and just blow it out. Thank you. And I just want to open with a prayer because that's what I do on Sunday mornings. I wake up and I pray. So I just want to say, God, we are grateful to be here today and that we ask that you just speak through me as we have this conversation, that everyone is open and present to your spirit and to your guidance, and especially to your love. I ask you to just embrace us all and have us to feel your presence. Thank you, God. We love you, honor you, and adore you. So let's move into the conversation, Jezebel. So I'd like people to just drop into the chat. What do you know about Jezebel? What do you think about her? What have you heard about her? I'm really interested to see what people know. So let's just take a moment and just drop that into the chat. We'll give you time to do that. As I was preparing for today, I talked with a lot of women about Jezebel, and it was so interesting to hear their perspective. So I really want to hear your perspective. So, admin team, has anyone dropped anything into the chat as of yet?
You can give them a little bit more time. We got the slow thinkers and writers at 7:08 on a Sunday morning. But I'll start us off, and I'm going to do it very lightly. I could say a lot about Jezebel, but I'm going to say one thing, that nobody is compelled to name their children after Jezebel.
Yes,
I don't know any Jezebels.
I agree. I don't know anyone named Jezebel either. I'm just curious to see what people have to say about her. Has anyone dropped anything into the chat as of yet, admin?
Sure. We have Louise shared she was considered a loose woman in the Bible. Danielle, I hope I'm saying that correctly. She laughed, LOL. I always think of sexual freedom. As a child, it was used as an insult. Teresa says, haven't read about her in the Bible, but usually her name is associated with being a hoe. From Facebook, Rakia on Facebook says, a loose or free woman.
Mm-hmm.
And then Louise co-signed with Shawnee and said she doesn't know any Jezebels either. That's true. A whore was dropped in there. I'm sorry. It would help if I put my glasses on. Abim Bola shares she is not Bible literate, so no, I guess she's saying she does not know about Jezebel. And then Kaira says she doesn't know much, but what she does know about the name is it's negative. Kaisha says, I think a Jezebel is a woman who slides her way in a man's life knowing he is married for her own gain. And then Purple shares someone who uses her feminine energy to survive due to the experience of women at the time. I think a woman without guidance for her sexual energy or power. So yes, those are the shares about Jezebel. And I'll just add, from what I know, Jezebel wore red, and red was associated with unpleasant things, we'll say.
Unpleasant things. So I'm really interested. It's really interesting that people don't know her story, but have such an image of who she was. And I think that's powerful, that we have this image of who she was, not knowing her story. And as I'm thinking about that right now, how many times did people not know our story, but have sort of an idea of who we are? And I'm wondering if we can just select someone from Facebook to answer that question. How many times do people think they know who you are and have an idea of who you are and have put that out there to the community, and it is not who you are? Can we just select someone to come off mute and just share with the community?
Sure. Oh, go ahead, Shawnee.
Yeah, I would love, since it's your accountability partner, for Denise to unmute herself and share where that might be true about her, and just to share with the community. It doesn't have to be in the current moment. It can be from something that happened in the past. But I believe we all have examples of this. If you've been living and engaged with other human beings, you have a story about somebody thinking that they know you based on something they heard, tell. I'm being very country today. So funny. I'm like, oh yeah, sound like my great grandmother. Yeah, so just if you could share, Denise. and we'll invite you to unmute. There you go.
Good morning. Good morning. I'll speak generally. I think as Black women, we are often, people think they know our story. It's a myth that Black women are strong and they can give birth and don't need medicine or don't need anything.
Yes.
It's it because you know, we're strong women. We can take it. Knowing our story, that we are just. I'm sorry. I'm just waking up. Uh, Black women in general, Black men, and it may be true, but Black men are the best lovers that there is, not knowing our story. Um, Fathers not caring and wanting to be family men, not knowing the story that the family was broken up. I'll just stop there, and putting it out on our overall race.
Yeah. Laura, for one sec, because Denise, and I just want to give the community some more direction, Facebook as well. So you spoke in general terms, so now you can hone in on your own personal story, because that's where the juice is, in reference to our growth and development. So how have you experienced, or where have you experienced, and one story, whether it's at work or in family or an intimate partnership, how have you experienced someone thinking they know you, got your story, and then operating from that as opposed to the truth?
Oh, absolutely. So growing up, I was such a tomboy. And so I like to hang out with the boys and play football. And so it was assumed that because they saw me with boys a lot, that I was fast and loose. And that was so far from the truth. I just like doing boy things. I wasn't into dolls, Barbie dolls, and things of that nature. I wanted to play touch football. And so I would be out there with the boys, catching the football and running and playing and having a good time. And as I got older, those same boys were still my friends. And so there was assumption that I was loose because I hung with the boys all the time, when that was so not the case. And so when I think about that in terms of my story and thinking about Jezebel, Jezebel was actually the daughter of a king. So she was royalty. And I so relate to that as a Black woman. And when I'm doing therapy and I have a client, what I like to do is to find something that I can relate to with them automatically. And so when I thought about Jezebel, that was the first thing I thought. We have something in common. I am the daughter of royalty, and so is she. And she was a great strategist. People knew that she was really smart and intelligent. And she was a woman of faith. And that's another thing that we have in common. She had a God that she believed in, and her God was Baal. It was the God of fertility. And so here we have a woman who is strong in her faith, and she is asked to now take on a whole new God that she could not relate to. So I just wonder, is there ever been a time in your life where you had to change your total identity for someone else? I just wondered about that because I know myself that has happened. So when I first got married, it's taking on a whole new identity. And it was a struggle because I was used to being Laura Joseph, doing what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. And being a wife takes on a whole nother identity. So I'm curious from the community, have you ever had to take on a whole nother identity and sort of abandon some part of yourself? What are we thinking about that? Do we have anyone on Facebook or anyone in the space that we can call in to talk about that? So can we ask Teresa to unmute and just talk about that for a moment?
Hi, good morning, family. I just felt like that's how I was doing most of my life. Conforming to what other people said and thought I should be. Because I really didn't believe in myself. And it wasn't until like the last, like maybe 4 or 5 years, and especially when I came on Woo, like a whole new, like a whole new person, has developed. Sometimes I'd be like, who the hell are you? And I've said this before, but I really mean it from the bottom of my heart because I'm responding and doing things with the help of Be the Tree, Woo, and just other people that have been on there, and just my sisters from Be the Tree, and it's like,
Mhm.
and being part of the collective is like how I view myself and how I see myself is like totally different, and some of the things that I participate in, how I respond to them are like totally like night and day. So I feel good that I'm comfortable with who I am. Like we was talking about P power on, I don't want to say it, on live, but we was talking about P power, woman's vagina, and we was talking about, the power of it. And so it just felt so good that, even to even say those words, because that's like, something that you say, oh, that's like a no-no, that, I guess that would become, considered like, like being like Jezebel in a point, but it was just saying there's a freedom about being able to talk about, your vagina without it being, like criminalized. And so it's just a beautiful thing to be around women and men, from Wool, and then Be the Tree, and then from the alumni collective. It's just a freedom. It's like, and I was just struggling with my family day, but a family issue that happened. And when I got on, the alumni collective, it was just magnificent, so it was just freedom. And I'm just so glad to be part of, having a mind that's free. And I'm complete.
Thank you for your share, Teresa. Is there anyone else who wants to come off and talk about what it was like to take on a whole new identity and to give up a part of yourself? Because as women, that happens to us a lot. We go into work and we have to switch and be someone else, especially when we're of color. We're not allowed to sometimes be in a workplace and just share who we are. And when we become a mother, it really takes away from our identity. So does anyone else want to share that experience? What it's like when you become a mother?
So Laura, there are a couple of comments in the chat. So let me go ahead and read them. From Shireen on Facebook, she says, yes, while working in corporate America 30 years ago. And this was in response to your question around taking on a whole new identity.
Mhm.
Shauna on Facebook also says, yes, people have had perceptions of me. Church sister told me I attend church to be told I look good. And then Teresa Plaskett says, for her, it was motherhood. She was young and still learning about who she was as a woman, first job, going to school, etc. We have two more comments from Facebook that I'll read for you. K on Facebook says, I have felt this throughout my life, having to shift to survive. And then Rakia on Facebook says, born during my mother's spiritual journey, I was introduced to multiple faiths, and we settled and lived a con. I had my own journey while also establishing various relationships. She's certainly created her own spiritual practice. So would you like to go ahead?
No, you can go ahead. You can continue.
I was going to ask you if you wanted to ask someone to come on and share your question about motherhood, because that was a huge shift for me as well.
Yes.
But we can invite someone from the community.
Oh, absolutely. I would like
what
to.
that was
Please
like
do
for
that.
them. So Teresa Plaskett, you dropped in the chat about it being motherhood for you. So why don't you, let me invite you to come off of mute and share what that was like.
Good morning, family. Good morning. Hi, Laura.
Hi.
Hi. So yeah, I dropped in motherhood as I was sitting here thinking about it. I had just graduated from college. I was looking for a job and trying to get myself set up. And yeah, it was a huge shift. Like I knew what to do, how to change a diaper and all of that stuff. And thankful that my mother and my father were there to support me in helping me raise my son. But all the other things I was learning on, in the moment. And still, I was what, 23, 24, so still wanting to hang with my friends and trying to balance that with work and going to school and raising a child and figuring it out. Like, what is it that I like? What is it that Teresa wants in life? And how do you do that? So, um, for a while, and it was fine, putting a lot of that on the back burner, because I'm like, this is what's most important, is to ensure that my child is healthy, happy, secure, and he's safe. Um, and so like now, where he's older, um, I am finding that I am really starting to tap into what Teresa wants and what
Yes, I
Teresa
understand that.
enjoys.
Mhm.
So yeah, motherhood was a huge, like, 365 turn for me. And now I feel like I'm starting to do the turn back around and focusing on the person in the mirror. And I'm complete.
Thank you for your share, Teresa. I really appreciate that. And I'm thinking about what you said in the context of Jezebel and her being not able to be who she was, and being forced to take on something new. And that's really difficult in the midst of being a wife and in the midst of being a mother. And when I really thought about her, the other thing that really connected me to her was she reminded me of my grandmother. And my grandmother was born in the 1900s, and she got married in maybe 1940 something, and she had two children, and she was a woman before her time. And in those days, if you were married, you stayed married. And so my grandmother found out that my grandfather was straying, and she took her two kids and she left. And it was such a big deal for her in the family because they said to her, "You don't leave, you stay. You have two children." And so for her to do that in this sort of male dominated world, because for her, a man stepping out in my family, that was not a big deal. You didn't break up a marriage for that. You just allowed him to be a man. And so I think for her, being a woman before her time, I really related that to Jezebel, who was really smart and who had a husband who knew she was smart. And she was sort of the brains behind the operation. And she really sort of stood by him and really wanted the best for him. But she was really the one running the show. And I'm just wondering how many of us do that. We do that on our jobs, we do that in our families. We are the women behind the scenes that are holding up the man, holding up the family. And I really want to know your experiences about that. What is it like to be that woman, that person who is holding up the family? You have your own dreams, your own aspirations, but you are holding up the family. I would really like to hear from the community because I know I was that person who was holding up the family when I was married. So I'll just give you a minute to think about that and invite someone to come off mute and talk about that. So Nigel says it was exhausting. So could we hear from someone from the community? Shawnee, can you select someone to talk about that?
Absolutely. There's a lot of shares in the space here about this very thing, Laura. So thank you for bringing this conversation to the forefront. I want to select someone that we haven't heard from yet. Um, so holding up the family, just to repeat, being that person that keeps all the threads together. So, Danielle, if you can unmute, I'm going to invite you. Um, you're my reflection in many ways, so I know you know what this is.
Good morning, family.
Morning.
Good
Good morning,
morning.
Laura. Happy to be here to listen and share with everyone. I didn't know much about Jezebel. I am a faith-filled woman. I consider myself to be one, but I'm going to look more into Jezebel. But as far as holding up the family, I consider myself to be a third generation matriarch. So my grandma was the original matriarch that I related to, that my mom is a matriarch now. And I consider myself to be following in their footsteps. But what I'm trying to do different is I am holding up the family and not sacrificing myself. So I saw my grandmother do that and she didn't complain. My mom is doing it now and she's struggling with the balance. I want to take all of the good things that they did for the family, but I don't want to sacrifice myself. So that also means setting boundaries, saying no, because I don't want to be tired and love my family. Like I want to love my family and be there for them, but I don't want to do that with resentment. So being in spaces like this, learning from strong people like Shawnee and Laura, I'm really learning more about what it means to put an and in between family and love, and not but. Like I don't want to be dragged down, worn down, look at a mess and say, oh, but my family, I'm there for my family. That doesn't work for me. So not sure if that answered the question, but I'm gonna be there for my family, but I'm not gonna hold on to the narrative about being tired and worn down. And my family, I'm very outspoken about that. And when I give to them, I'm gonna give all. And when I pull back, they know I'm not doing anything. And they're okay with that because they already got from me already. So that's what I'm learning to do as I enter in this new season of my life. And I'm complete.
Thank you so much for your share. I really appreciate that. And I can remember when I was married, really putting everything into the family and being exactly what you said, Danielle, really tired. I had a job where I had the health insurance. And so I felt I had no choice but to keep this job, even though I wanted to leave so bad. But I was the one who had all of the health insurance and I was making more money and felt I had no other choice but to keep this job. And it was literally killing me. But I was holding it together for the family. And I just want to hear from one other person. Shawnee, could you select someone else who would also can talk about holding it together for the family?
Absolutely. So, Ketsia, I saw you came into the space. So happy to see you, my love. So, can you come off mute? Because I know you can speak on this.
Ooh. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
And you sound like a mom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Let me take the earpods off. I
There
hear
you go.
better, but I can't.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That self-sacrifice and that being a martyr to be able to be a wife and mother, and you lose yourself in that. I've lost myself in that. I've been a mother since I was 18. And just to volley back, like the perception of me being a 18-year-old mother was that I was loose and that I was promiscuous and that I was irresponsible. So then I pivoted my whole life so that I wouldn't be perceived that way. I became the most responsible and chaste and all of those things. And I think that I sacrificed, well, I know I sacrificed a lot, to be looked at as responsible mom, daughter, sister, wife, all of those things. And I definitely lost myself. I think now in my 40s is when I'm like, who is Ketsia? What is Ketsia? Where is Ketsia? Why is Ketsia? Yeah, it took me till now to figure out even the things that I like. And I'm complete.
Thank you so much, Ketsia. I really appreciate your share because that's what we do as women. A lot of times we sacrifice everything for the family. And I think about that a lot as I was reading about Jezebel, who was sacrificing everything for her family. She was the one who was a strategist, and her husband would come to her and he said to her, I really want to accomplish this goal, but I don't know how to do it. I want this vineyard, but I don't know how to do it. And she said, don't worry about it. I will get this for you. and she set it up so he ended up getting the vineyard. And so it's always the women who have the brains, the women who move the work forward, the women who hold the conversation and really help move the family along. And it really sometimes gets to be really burdensome. And we're the ones who are looked upon when things go wrong. I can't tell you how many times I've since being single, been on a date and said, oh goodness, what did his mother do to him? I never asked the question, what did his father do or not do to him that he's not the man that he needs to be? It's the question that we always put to the woman. And I always wonder why that is. I think as women, we hold on to so much all the time. We are responsible for so much all the time. And I think about that when I think about my grandmother, who was such a wonderful woman and a preacher, and who was told by men, she can't lead a church. And so my grandmother said, oh no, I'm going to do exactly what I want to do. And she started a church. And she really preached and really helped women all over by really talking about these stories. And she talked to me, which is why I'm having this conversation with you, about Jezebel. And she was able to have me look at her and see her for the strength, the character that she has. So I wanted to hear how many women have really helped you and supported you in getting your dreams accomplished. So let's drop that in the chat. Who has helped you? Who has been there for you so you can go and accomplish your goals and be who you want to be? Do we have anyone who can talk to us about that, Shawnee?
Yeah, let's give a little bit of time for them to think. And just for clarification, because I'm thinking about this, a woman who's contributed to who we are, our growth and our development, that wasn't modeling overkill and doing the most. Because I'm like, I can think of a lot of women that supported me, but their modeling was work till you drop, you know.
Mm.
And even though I have a high work ethic, I don't want to be like that. You know, so a
Mm-hmm.
lot is coming to mind. Or is it just in general? Because it's cool either way. I just want to make sure that we're answering the question you're asking.
I want to know who supported you, that was a positive role model where they had good boundaries,
Got
that
that.
they was wife, mother, business owner, but really had good boundaries.
Hmm. Um, I'll say my grandmother Ruth. She held space for all of us, and her house was a space you could go to, like if you needed a place to stay. But she was no joke. She managed her money well. Her household was immaculate, but not like this obsessive, oppressive energy. She was also oh my gosh, just very feminine. And I don't mean that in a way of like, this is the way you have to be, but like she was immaculate in the sense that she kept herself up well. She kept her belongings well, and loving, affectionate, smart, yeah, just well-rounded. She had her vices and things that she did, not perfect, because that's not what we're looking for, what I was looking for, but definitely a model for a patriarch, I mean, a patriarch, Lord, a matriarch that was the core without doing damage. You know. So that's my share. Let's see who else is out here. Um, my
Let's
mother.
hear from a few people.
Yeah, so Summer, come off mute. Purple, if you would, in this order. Um, Terry shared about her mom. So Summer, if you can unmute first and share what you have.
Yep. Good morning, sisters.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well. Yeah, it's I always saw my mother as selfish. And now in my grown-up self, I see that she just really had good boundaries. And she was able to say no, even to family, even to her own mother. And not take on too much. And even with us, myself and my brother, able to still go out and have fun with her sister friends. But I judged it. And now I see, now when I grow up, I want to be like her.
Thank you for your share. You know, I remember thinking that as well about my mother, that she was selfish, that she should do more, be more. I wanted her to be that mother that I saw on television, you know, that had on that little apron and was cooking for the family and baking. And my mother had 5 kids and she worked full time. And so that wasn't possible.
Yep, exactly right. That's watching that TV show, watching movies. That's exactly what I thought. She should be there more instead of there for herself. So yeah, now I see that that's exactly what I need to be instead of everything for everybody. Know when to say no and when know how to take care of herself, myself. Yeah, she's definitely my role model now.
Thank you for your share.
Thank you. I am complete.
All righty. So we called on some others. Let's see who else. You know, if I called on you, y'all stop playing perfect.
No, you're breaking up, sister.
Can y'all hear me?
Now you're
Hello?
good.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello,
sister.
can you hear me?
Yeah, you can't hear.
I'm on the train, so I don't know if it's gonna work. Okay, I'll be really cool. Jackie, you know, y'all know is my step.
I think she went out.
Yeah, so no problem. Terry, if you could unmute.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. How are you?
My mom encouraged me. She was rough. She raised 4 kids. She worked full time. She made time for herself. But what she did do as I got older was, as I would talk to her about my frustrations about being a wife and a mom, working full time, she would tell me about going back to school to get my master's. She would tell me about how to draw boundaries and what to prioritize, and that it was important for me to get to know me. Because I developed that over responsible personality. So getting to know me was really important, and it helped our relationship too, because she was not always my favorite person because I did not understand what she was pushing for me. So it helped me, and it has changed our relationship.
I'm glad that you gave us that share. Thank you so much. I think women, we do so much for our families that sometimes our children don't see it for who we really are. It's very, very difficult. And they have such judgments about us. Shawnee, is there someone else that wanted to share?
Absolutely. We have 2 people. We have Cherry, and then we also have Kaisha. So Cherry, if you could unmute, please.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So I just wanted to say that it's interesting to hear about the matriarchs in a lot of women's families, and how I guess they were the persons that put that that leadership role in your head. Me personally, I've never really felt that. I did have a very close relationship with actually all of my aunts in different ways. And the interesting thing is, they had their own daughters. So, you know, they were leaders for their daughters in their own ways. For me, looking from the outside, looking in, I was looking for that that wing that I can just, you know, huddle under, so that way I could feel empowered as a woman. I didn't really grow up with my mom, but my aunts would always tell me well, you're not my child. I can't really give you the guidance that you need. And, it's not for me to step over your mom or your father. And I just thought that was weird because I'm still their niece. I'm still a young lady. I still need that woman's role. But I saw a lot and I learned a lot from the outside. I didn't get that direct, but I did see them sacrifice a lot being single mothers. And a few of them were married, but their marriages didn't work out. But I remember just having them drop little jewels on me little by little. And now I see what they were talking about. But I didn't feel the real power behind it because it wasn't direct. You know what I mean? Like I didn't live with them. I didn't get that full blown. They didn't really share too much with me because they felt that that was my parents' job. But from the outside looking in, I definitely did notice that they did hold it down, and they gave me what I needed, enough that I needed to figure it out on my own, even though I wish I had a little bit more.
Thank you so much for that. I know that sometimes we have other people outside of the family who step in, and I mean like not a immediate family. You're saying that it's your aunt that stepped in and helped you, but didn't want to step on your mother's toes or your father's toes, but really gave you some jewels and some tools for you to work with. Are you still there?
Oh yeah, sorry. I just wanted to mute to be respectful,
No,
But
it's okay.
yes, no, and that's the thing. Like it was like I have a lot of aunts because my father has no brothers. So he has four sisters, and my mom, she also has four sisters. So I had a lot of aunts. All eight aunts were in my life, but they were just very much of like arm's length. It was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep you here. I'm not gonna let you get too close. But I always say that like if it wasn't for my aunts, I wouldn't know as much as I know now. My mother and I, we definitely are still not really like we're still estranged, but I do give her a little bit more acknowledgement because I'm like, yeah, my aunt was right, because I was holding on to little things when I was younger against my mother, and my aunts were trying to explain things to me, but I just couldn't understand. But now that I'm older, I get exactly what they were trying to tell me.
Thank you so much for your share. I so appreciate that. Was there one more person, Shawnee, that
Yes,
wanted to share?
Aisha.
Good morning. Excuse me.
Good morning.
So,
How are you?
thank you. I mean, I'm doing well, thank you. So I do have similar experiences as the other women with their mothers and grandmothers, but I wanted to look beyond that. I'm a veteran, and I wanted to look beyond that at the women in my life that served with me, and the things that the little nuggets that they put in my head, my head as far as my career and navigating my family and motherhood. I didn't begin paying attention to these women until I became pregnant at the age of 20. And just, I didn't realize that I spoke to these women and I told them my goals of becoming an officer. One of the officers, when I told her that I was pregnant, she was disappointed. And she says, "You're not supposed to be pregnant now. You're supposed to be an officer. You're supposed to be going to the next step. You're supposed to be moving forward." And it wasn't a joyous occasion for her. And she said it. And so at that point, I was like, well, I'm going to be determined to prove her. And I'm going to move forward, in this career. I'm not going to quit. Like some young women did, like some women did. Another thing that my paternal grandmother did say at that time when I told her I was pregnant was, "Oh Lord, you're going to get out the military. Oh, you're going to get out the military and you're not going to finish." And I had to explain to her, like, well, grandma, things are different. Women can serve.
Yes.
But that was her mindset. And so what pushed me forward was seeing the women that served and navigated their family, and they began to get promotions. And yes, we had to fight. Our voices had to be heard because it's a male dominated society. The military is, but I I didn't quit. And I think that was on some people's mind as a young woman at the age of 20, and I didn't quit. And I did sacrifice for my family. I did, I guess what the question was, did we push our own desires down and push our own feelings down? And
Yes.
yet not going to airborne school or not going to officer school because of the time away from my child. That was a sacrifice, and putting off my tours to Korea and things like that. I eventually accomplished those things, but at the sacrifice of leaving a baby behind. And then,
Yes.
and so 10 years in, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And now I'm medically retired. And that was a huge sacrifice because I could have stayed in. And I chose to, to let it go. That was a career of mine. That was my dream since 14. And I chose to let it go for my family. So, because I wanted to be present for them. MS makes you very exhausting, and so does the military. And to come home, pulling myself together and cooking and doing what I need to do for my family, I had to let something go. And it was the military. So how I channeled that energy is I got into my community. I no longer had the military community to surround me. So I started paying attention to the city that I lived in. It was Colorado Springs. And I became a volunteer. I met people, other moms, and in my kids' schools. I volunteered in the school. And I began to meet people, I just became to be a community member, a civilian community member. And but I attribute the women, my friends, my mentors in the military that kept pushing me forward for my voice to be heard. I was in a lot of situations in the military to where I was meek, and I had women talking about, girl, how come you didn't speak up? How come you didn't tell him this? And it was a him. How come you didn't tell him that? And so therefore I would have to retract and go back into that man's office to tell him how I felt. And so those are the examples that I've had as a woman from 20 to now 40, I'm 41, of making those sacrifices, but channeling that energy into something else that I could, be there for my community and for my people, my family, my family.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate you sharing that. And I respect women in the military. My oldest daughter is retired from the Navy. She was in for 14 years and had a baby while she was in the military. And it was really difficult for her to leave the baby. I think my granddaughter was 6 months when she had to go on tour. So I know that the struggles of that. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So one of the other things that I'd like to talk about, was there someone else, Shawnee, before I continue, that wanted to share?
No hands raised, love.
Okay. One of the things I want to share and talk about in terms of Jezebel is the trauma that she must have experienced when her husband died in war. And then later on, her son died as well. And the way in which women experience trauma and then keep on moving. I've had multiple traumas in my life and had to keep dealing and keep surviving. So in the midst of getting a divorce, I knew that I had to support my child because it's difficult to go from a 2-family income to a 1-family income. And so in the middle of all of the anguish and heartache and pain of that, I registered for social work school and was accepted and was able to go through that program and often look back at that now and say, wow, how did I do that? How could I possibly have done that and had the strength to do that when I was really traumatized? I had been married for over 20 years. And now I was by myself. And when you're with someone for that amount of time, you have to learn to do things over again because he takes care of certain things, you take care of certain things. And now it was all on me. I had to make sure my daughter was okay. I had to go to school. I went and I worked full time. And it was just me by myself. And so I thought about that in the context of Jezebel, learning that her husband was dead and being traumatized by that, but still keeping going, still being a mother to her son. And so I want us to really understand that part of her story and really want you to talk about that for yourselves. What trauma have you had, but still you were able to keep it going, and who helped you to do that? So I'll just give the community a minute to just think about that, because I know as women, we are so strong and we do it all, but trauma really impacts us and we just keep it moving. And sometimes we need to take a break and acknowledge that something has happened to us. So anyone want to come off mute and share? Do we have anyone, Shawnee?
Okay, let's see. Safia, if you are still here, I know I saw you earlier. If you can come off mute and share. And Abimbola, I'm just led to ask you as well. And Afriye. And this is all about consent. Yeah. Safia, you ready?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, Miss Laura.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Good morning, family. Caught me off guard, Shani, but the if I had to think about a trauma, first of all, my story is mine, but I believe that I've relived trauma as well. Like it's resurfaced in me in different points in my life. And as a woman, as a Black woman in corporate America, you don't really get to have anyone in the work environment, which you are in most of the time, to share in that trauma, because there's this perception that you are weak, at least in my own head. So for me, starting with that, my own traumas of my childhood, coming up again and again in dreams and in different situations, and me reliving them was a lot. I was also a teen mom. So for me, even though the fact of motherhood is beautiful, but for me at 16, it went from traumatic to now I have to prove everybody wrong. And then I put all this pressure on myself to be good enough, to be in spaces, to be good enough to still go to school, to work, to do what I needed to do to survive. And I swallowed it. And I didn't share, and it became my survival mechanism. You know, I don't need to show people how vulnerable I am, because, you know, then they're going to think I'm weak, and then I'm not going to be able to take care of my daughter, and I'm not going to have the job that I need to prove to her and myself that I'm successful. So hope that answers the question.
Yes, that did answer the question. Thank you so much. And you said you swallowed it, and I wonder what that cost you to really swallow it. How that showed up in your body, how that showed up in different areas of your life that you had to swallow it and wasn't able to tell anyone about your trauma.
It cost pieces of me, right? So as I'm climbing in the ladder, right, and I'm having all these wins that I'm not really celebrating because I still don't think it's enough. I forgot who I was and what I needed for me. And I became this person, and I'm still dealing with her as well. She's a part of me that needs to please others and that needs to take care of other people, and they put other people's needs before herself. And yeah, it cost that. I wasn't able to feel, to grieve, if that makes sense, to just cry in person and just be sad or just be tired or not want to do nothing. Like I couldn't do that. God forbid I sat down and not worked, you know? So it manifested itself in that way, which is exhausting. It's exhausting. And I will say it wasn't until I actually completed the Be the Tree program with Shawnee and Spirit of a Woman that I really started to look at the way that I was living my life Like I've been through professional therapy. I've done all of that, and I thought I'm doing the right thing. But I really never turned the mirror on myself and like, look at how you're living. Look at what you're doing. Look at the cost to yourself. And I really had to be selfish. So swallowing it, I wasn't worried about myself. And I needed to be the best mom and the best wife. Now my marriage is better. So big cost.
Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing that with us. I could relate to not being able to celebrate those wins. I remember graduating from college and not feeling it. And I just went on to get my master's and didn't feel that. And then finally got my another's master's degree and realized one day that I never hung those degrees up. They were in the envelope.
Funny, me too.
Yeah, in the envelope, not on the walls. And I'm like, what is going on? These are major accomplishments. And how come I am not sharing that or just hanging it on the wall so I can see it, so I can celebrate me, that I can walk past and say, I did that and I did it well. I think that's something that I know that I still have to work on, celebrating my accomplishments. So thank you so much, Safia, for sharing. Shawnee, was there someone else that had to share?
Yes, there were two others. Bimbola, are you willing to share?
Yes, it brought back something I don't think is a trauma, but it was a sacrifice for me. I wanted to go to graduate school. I was actually enrolled in graduate school at Brooklyn College, and my daughter was in high school. And it was very important for me to make sure that she received scholarships for college and she did well academically. So I had set up a process for her to go to an after school program and then come home while I was taking classes. And then I discovered that when I would check on her, the phone would be busy and she wasn't really dealing with her academics. So I dropped out of graduate school so I could be home when she came home to make sure that she excelled academically. And sure enough, she did end up getting a full ride to college. But I sacrificed my master's degree and I never had that opportunity to go back and get my master's degree. But I look back now at I'll be 76 this year and I did well without the master's degree. But when y'all were talking, that brought back memories of a big sacrifice that I did in my life. I gave up in my life for my daughter's sake. So that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you so much for that. And that's what we do. We sacrifice who we are and what we want to be for our children a lot of the times. We do that because that's what we're socialized to do. And this is your child and you want the best for your child. So this is what women do. And so I'm glad that you were able to look back and say, but I did well anyway. I think that's really big. I did well anyway. So thank you so much for that share. Anyone else, Shawnee?
Yes, let's pivot a bit. Friye, I got your message. So she's not able to share off online or off mute with us. But I would love to hear. Well, let me just share that it is 8:02 a.m. and we normally pivot before the 8 o'clock hour for those who have to go to work or participating in church service or whatever it is that you're doing. So we want to acknowledge that that shift is coming. So Laura, if you can share or bid farewell to anyone who has to go, and then we can drop in the chat about how to be in touch with you. That would be great.
Oh, thank you so much. So thank you so much for being here. Anyone who has to leave, I so appreciate your contribution to the conversation and just your contribution to just being in the space and being open to the conversation. You can reach me on Facebook under Laura Joseph, or you can reach me by email. It is ljoseph1844@gmail.com. So thank you so much, and we can just continue.
Beautiful. So, Nija, if you can support by reading some of the comments on the chat. Facebook is very, very active today. Lots of shares from them. We want to always make sure
Yes.
that you're included while we hear from Teresa. So if you can gather those comments together, Nigel, and then we'll hear Teresa's share.
I just want to ask everyone to get your certificates out today and put them on the wall, because it is so amazing that you said this. When I did my altar this year, it was the first time that I actually put one of my certificates up ever in my life. And I have many. And I just want to encourage everyone, you can go to the dollar store, doesn't matter. Just get you some certificates or your degrees and put them on your wall, because we have accomplished everything. And so if the whole purpose, because it's going to change your whole atmosphere when you see the beauty of what you have done in your life. It might take away all of that pain and hurt that you feel that you're not enough or you haven't done what you told. When you see that on the wall, it's going to change your atmosphere. I'm telling you. I don't know why, but I just I'm going to get on here and just say this. Put your degrees on the wall today. If you got to get a piece of tape that's light and tape them, whatever you got to do, put them on that wall today, family. Let's do that. Let's do it as a whole family. Let's do that today.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, I want to share something about this, though, just inside of the conversation about Jezebel and being royalty. Just what Teresa said and what has been shared in the chat about not putting the degrees up. I choose not to do that. And I had never thought about it before until this morning. And I also got present to Teresa's share that her degrees are not up, but her medals from running races are up. For me, it's celebrate the things that are truly aligned with your highest desires. I went to school, I got a degree, I'm a clinical social worker and all that good stuff. And I owe a whole hell of a lot of money still for this degree. And that's not actually what brings me pride and what I want to post. There, who I am as a psychodramatist, I love that. Who I am as a performance artist, I love that. I have my book around, but maybe there's a way to mount it and hang it on the wall. My degrees are not the things that bring me pride. While I'm grateful that I have them because they've served the purpose and they get me in the door, that's not the thing that I want posted on the wall. But I invite everybody, because the world says that this is what we're supposed to do. I'm like, how you feel about it and what you choose to post based on your accomplishments, I think is most important. So I just wanted to put that out there, because it's very patriarchal to be like, oh, your education is the thing that should be bigged up, when I know so many women who are beyond gifted in this space for other things. So not trying to stop it, but just wanting to put another mindset into the space about what there is to celebrate and to big up. So Laura, where do you want to go next?
Okay, so I really want to hear some of the comments in the chat and on Facebook. I don't want to ignore the Facebook people, because I usually am on Facebook when I'm on Wake Up. So I really want to respect that. So let's hear some of the comments.
Sure. So let me go to where there was commentary about the degrees. I can start there and then work my way back, if that works. So several people dropped in that their degrees are still in envelopes too. Terry shared that she has difficulty accepting compliments. She brushes by them. She's learning to stop and acknowledge the compliments. Sherry on Facebook says she divorced the word selfish and adopted the term self-preserving to accurately describe her boundaries that were needed in unapologetic living. And then Teresa, as Shani mentioned, shared that her degrees are in the box, but her race medals are what's on the wall. Terry shared as well, her degrees are not up either. She's going to get frames and put them up so that she can acknowledge the blood, sweat, and tears she went through to obtain those accomplishments. Louise says that when her son was 2, she started her master's degree and then quickly realized that she would not be able to give. She started her master's degree when her son was 2 and then realized she would not be able to give him the time that he deserved. So she left the program. Her family was upset that she didn't continue. And she shares she's never regretted it. And her son are very close. So now let me roll back up. And there are a lot of comments in here. And I will start around the point where you talked about changing your identity. Okay. And on Facebook, Rhonda says, when she was married, she had to change her identity. It was detrimental because she changed all parts of her identity. She was married at 23 and thought that it was what she was supposed to do. She says, interestingly, her mom told her about how she changed a few years ago, and she's separated now and working to regained her true self. Joyce says she's done that in relationships, marriage. People always thought that they had her story, especially family. Always put a story out there about her that wasn't true. And she always had to change her identity. D.Y. Forrester says, and she too is on Facebook, from the beginning, you are someone to someone, so-and-so's daughter, so-and-so's wife, so-and-so's mother. She shares, I think as women, it's hard to know who you are. And she says who she is. So there are more shares about having to change oneself, boundaries, the exhaustingness of being someone else, the exhausting feelings, draining feelings that are emotional and physical to hold up the family. Rhonda on Facebook says that she was expected to hold up her family, and she loves the comment to not sacrifice herself. She also had to make boundaries. So there is a lot of acknowledgement, Laura, in the chat about women. And I say women because I don't think that I've read anything from any of the brothers in the space, having to adjust and change who they are, and the exhausting and draining work that is, having to be someone else, be what's expected. All right. So I could read a few more, or if you want to continue the conversation, we could go that way as well.
Well, let's continue the conversation and we'll come back and do some more. I think the other piece that I want to talk about with Jezebel is this whole image of sexuality. And when we first started, people talked about what they knew about her and framed it. It was people knew about her in a negative light. And why is it that women, when it comes to our sexuality, if we feel good about our bodies, if we dress in red, if our clothes fit a certain way, that we are deemed a Jezebel? I can remember that growing up. Because back in the day, I had a killer body and I knew it and I flaunted it. And it was nothing wrong with that. But going into church, I was told, no, you have to cover all of that up and you have to hide that. And you cannot be sexual or sensual. So when I stepped into church, I felt like I only dealt with, from my head up, that was it. My body didn't come into the space. You sat, you listened to what was said, and then you got up and you went home. But it didn't incorporate everything that I needed to be as a woman. And so that is something that I want to talk about for a moment, our sexuality and our sensuality, and who out in the world gets to be deemed a Jezebel. So if you think about celebrities, what celebrity do you think that we have deemed as a Jezebel? And I'll give an example when we talk about J-Lo, because she's been with this one and that one, they say she doesn't have the best reputation. So I really want us to delve into that conversation about a woman's sexuality and why it's always trying to be harnessed by men. Someone said Cardi B and Kim Kardashian. Absolutely, absolutely. So can we select someone to come off mute and talk about that?
Sure. Let us see.
The chat is alive.
Teresa said Cardinal B. It's Cardi B, Teresa. Cardinal B. I would love to hear from some folks that we haven't heard from yet. So Inez, Teamer, or Kathleen Greeley, if you're willing to share. And I want to go back. When I think about Josephine Baker,
Yes.
I'm 52, and even though she was a seasoned sister when I was a kid, I just realized that she was considered to be doing things that were risque and over the top, and even though she wasn't showing like not like today, like outright her body, she would be, well, that's not true. In the overseas, she would be showing like her buttocks and stuff like that, but she was just considered to be dope and awesome, but then also over the top, and men, they wanted to watch her. She was talked about in ways that were very disparaging. So that's who comes to mind. I think of old school, and I think of the current state of affairs too. So Kathleen, if you would like to share, or Inez, and anybody else can raise their hands too if you want to share in this space. Let me see. There we go, Inez.
Okay. Well, I'm really not familiar with the term Jezebel because I'm not a Christian. So, but hearing the things that you're saying, it makes me wonder, because I'm like, well, then I know I must be a Jezebel, because I sit up here and I belly dance and I do a lot of things. Like, I'm the type of person that I'll try it once to see. And I really sometimes admire these women who are like what you were just mentioning, Josephine Baker, because these were pioneers who were strong Black women, because they also had great qualities fighting for our rights. So that's basically my share of it.
Thank you for that. Anyone else have a share?
So anyone else who's willing to unmute and just say a bit more about the woman you named, or the woman that is on your mind, how the world views her, how you have viewed her, because I'm confident that we're all guilty of declaring somebody as a Jezebel, and not just the famous folks, but folks that we negotiate
Yes.
with every day. Like, we're talking about the ones that are like front and center, but there's somebody right now that we're viewing. We may not use the term, but we're like, oh, she's a whore, she's a slut, she's a slide, as the kids say. Yeah, just loose. So I'm like, yo, Diana Ross was viewed as a Jezebel? Well, Donna Summer.
because this is Teresa, because they used to have like dresses up to their thighs out, and so that wasn't nothing for a young woman in my time for the see. So I'm just saying, it's like they showed their bodies a lot, and so that was something. But even in church, if you wore, like Miss Laura said, if you wore a tight dress, or if you wore red lipstick, and I love red lipstick, so they'd be like looking at me like I was crazy. So I felt like that at church, that I was like a Jezebel at church, because I remember myself, covering up myself, and I had a friend tell me, he was like, "Why are you doing it?" I was like, "Because I just feel like, like people looking at my body, and I don't want them looking at my body." And in the church, they tell you, your body supposed to be holy, and now, like, I don't even care, like wearing my arms out, like that was a problem. Like, now I wear my arms, I wear lipstick, I wear a tight dress, and I'm 360, and I don't care. So it's like, but if I was still under that, that treacherous, teaching, then I would be messed up, So I just feel good to be showing my little body. I show cleavage, all of that stuff. I would never do that, So I feel free about my body now that I didn't feel. I'm complete.
Thank you, Teresa. I can remember being in church and had on a dress that came slightly above my knees. And one of the ushers came over and gave me a scarf to place over my lap. And I went, what? What am I supposed to? At first, I didn't know what it was for. And then I said, oh my goodness, the woman next to me said, you have to put that over your lap, sweetheart. You're showing your knees. I thought they're knees. They're just knees. And it really deterred me. I couldn't listen to the sermon after that because I felt wounded by that, like there was something wrong with me because I showed my knees. Anyone else has a share?
Yeah, we have.
Hi, this is Kathleen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I apologize as well. Let me.
I called on you, but I didn't know if you were coming off mute. So after you, Amal can share.
Oh, Mom, that's my girl. That's why I'm here. Hey, hi, Sister Queen. So I just wanted to share, like our sister who's at the helm of this conversation, I had a banging body. I played sports. I went to church probably 5 days a week. I was in everything. But I remember moving from Baptist to Holiness, and it was in Holiness church where our dresses or skirts had to be below our knees, and so I remember having that experience. But in terms of who in my life was really leading me, because my mom left when I was 13. And my mom and dad had 10 kids. So I really needed guidance. And I remember my oldest sister who really kind of raised me, really raised us. And she was just relentless. I mean, workaholic. Same thing, we got it from our dad. Our dad really raised us. And so as much as I try to think about a matriarch in my family, I really think about my oldest sister who just worked 7 days a week, so I kind of grew up with this kind of leadership, in the household with my father and my oldest sister. And I remember growing up thinking, in terms of whenever trauma would come up, I'll cry tomorrow. So there was a lot of pushing down of that trauma, throughout my life. And just listening to the conversation earlier, I was the person who was really holding space in the family when I was married, eventually divorced, and becoming a single mom, so carrying all of that energy, into being a single mom. And my daughter is like that now. I don't think I have to worry about her ever not working, because I took that same energy on. I'm not saying I'm happy about it. A lot of stuff I'm hearing Beatrice to straighten out myself, that I've been pushing down that may have been a part of why I developed cancer. So I'm here to learn and grow, but just wanted to share.
Oh, thank you so much for that share. And I appreciate what you had to say, and we wish you good health. Do we have anyone else who wanted to share?
Yeah, it was me. I never thought of my mother as Jezebel, but my mom, girl, she was scandalous and she didn't care. She carried herself. She did a luau. She came out in a grass skirt and pantyhose, no panties, no nothing. Fist of love, and she was proud. Everybody said she had no panties on. So my mother was in that state, and I loved it because she was just a free spirit.
Good for her.
On any of those attributes. I became a Muslim and covered everything up. I'm not that now. I mean, I am in my heart, but yeah. But no, I didn't take that after my mom. And I admire people who have that much confidence in themselves.
So do I. I really do admire women who could just put it all out there.
That's right. That's right. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have, so what's going on in the chat? What's going on Facebook?
Oh my Lord, the stuff that
the chat is alive. The chat is alive.
And we got Stacy running up in here. You know she got something to say. Stacy done popped up on the scene. I'm like, oh goodness. What Stacy want to say?
Yes.
Go ahead, Nigel.
I was also going to share my experience as a choir member in a church. I dropped it in the chat that when my choir was on, we were not allowed to wear anything that was sleeveless because our armpits were not to be seen. And it just seemed so ridiculous. And I like to consider myself evolved. And I know that, you know, women get a bad rap for what we wear. I too was called a lot of things because I was an athlete and I liked form-fitting clothing because I felt I looked good in it. I looked really good in it. And so I liked it, but I was called a lot of things. And now as a mother of a daughter, I sometimes will turn my daughter around when she's on her way to school because of something that she has on. And so I'm trying to unlearn that when I'm dealing with her. And it's not because I think she's these horrible things, it's because I don't want others to think that she's a Jezebel. So there's that. All right. Let me go ahead and share some of what is in the chats because there is a lot. Safia says her aunt down south would try and make her put stockings on for church in South Carolina in the summer.
Yes.
She was defiant and saying no, it was hot, but her grandmother said, you cannot be seen in God's house without stockings. There's a lot in the, you know, a lot of other examples in the chat of women who have the same or similar messages coming from the church. And what I find very funny about that is I have not heard any restrictions on what men could wear, but all of this is around policing women's bodies, you know, giving them something to cover their knees as if knees are, you know, something to be covered during the service. So Sienna Robinson says, and she's on Facebook, she says, why is it that a woman loving herself and showing her body beauty being offensive? This is only because of the lack of self-control of the male gaze and actions.
I like that.
Yeah, yeah. Even today, Charmaine shares, she's told that women 50 and above need to stop wearing two-piece bathing suits, fitted dresses, etc. All of this is control. Stacy McLean says control. Tradition is shared by Denise West, that these are traditions. Teresa P says, as an usher, she couldn't seat women down the middle aisle wearing a low-cut dress or arms exposed, anything revealing. This is in the area in the direct line of sight from the pulpit. She says, don't want to distract, in quotes, the preacher. And then she says, breastfeeding is frowned upon in the sanctuary. I had not heard that one, but it doesn't surprise, you know?
Yes, not at all.
Yeah, so Ketsia shared her mom absolutely was seen as a Jezebel, but now she sees her as that real image, strong and resilient. So I could go on. It is 8:26. You can let us know how much more time you'll need. And if you want me to read a few more chats, I can do that as well. Let us know how you want to proceed.
So I think I just need like 5 to 10 more minutes. And I think the last piece that I would like to talk about is at the end of Jezebel's story, when she knows her time is up and they're coming for her to kill her. And she doesn't run. She doesn't hide. She doesn't shrink. She adorns herself and she sits and she waits. And I thought for me, that was so powerful that she, to the bitter end, was going to be who she was. No one was going to take that from her. And I think it was such a testament of strength, because would I do that? Or would I run, hide under the bed, try to get out the back door? But she didn't. And so I just want to encourage all of us to really stand in that and think about that. How much would you give up to stand in the truth of who you are? Can we all do that? And want to really get in a response to that. Can you stand in the truth of who you are, regardless of the circumstances. That's a hard one.
Ashe. So you have loads of chat responses, and also 2 hands raised, Purple and also Stacy. But Purple, I'm not sure if you're still in transit because we weren't able to hear you before.
No, I think y'all can hear me now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I was sharing, I think there was a period, like many people that's on this page, I was an athlete, you know, I had the butt before you could buy one and all that beautiful things. And as a performing artist, I knew how to work it, turn it on, turn it off. So I had wardrobe changes. So I came on, you know, and my sensuality empowered that wasn't only my sensuality, right? And I think it offered me a certain experience, and I knew how, I was fortunate to know how to establish boundaries and communications with men and use that, not really for attention, but just sorcery like, right? And then I would flip it on stage, change my wardrobe and cover it all up, right? Because it really, I didn't need that. And even when I moved in the world, I was very fortunate to kind of show men how to really respond to me and not get caught up in that. Then I dated someone that was a Jezebel. And the question you just asked is the challenge. It's like, as a woman who has shared with me she didn't have those experiences, and I seen her kind of use her Jezebel and get puffed up because that's all she's ever experienced. And she doesn't have the respect, and she wanted the respect that she heard me talk about that I get from men. But that dynamic created a very different challenge. With the Jezebel, you have to do that to get that, you know, or have that and learn how to hone that and invite something else. And what that looked like being me with her, wanting her to stand in her truth. And that process it took, how men demonstrated their interaction with her while I'm standing right there. I actually held her accountable and was like, because you're not growing and honing this thing, you're bringing certain, if I'm allowing this, which that I don't even allow for myself. So to watch the disrespect and the woman not even see it as disrespect, or rather lack of value, and the woman not see it as a lack of value, made me stand in my truth to say like, yo, I want this person to have safe passage in my mind. What does loving a Jezebel look like when it compromises the values that I don't even compromise for myself? And so it just wasn't worth staying in it for me because I didn't know how to negotiate that, meaning knowing that person just needed love, support, patience, and understanding. I discovered I didn't have it. And I felt disappointed for it because it's still another woman. That's all I was going to share. So I've learned to stand in my truth, but I want to learn more about that experience I had because that woman is standing in her truth.
Thank you so much. I love what she said. How do you love a Jezebel? That is very profound, something I really want to think about. But I see there's a lot of hands raised. So can we just pick someone and have them share? We have just a few more moments.
Yeah, just requesting that the shares be succinct. So Adam, I saw your hand raised, and I also saw that you were posting about Audre Lorde and statements about how she spoke, like I say, coached, guided, used her intuitive ability and her intellect to share about how women can choose to be in the world. And that's a powerful thing, especially coming from a man. So if you could unmute and just share your thoughts about what you shared, and especially as a brother.
Good morning, Laura. Good morning, everybody. I did drop her piece in the chat because I wanted to let every woman know that what Audre Lorde was saying was 100% truthful about how when women disconnect themselves from their true sexuality and how they conform into the Western culture, especially, and other people telling them that their body is not good enough, their whole world becomes very flat in a sense that it can affect their whole relationships and how they show up in the world. And some of the men, when we see that from women when they disconnect themselves, it can be very exhausting on us as well and very frustrating, because I believe when a woman disconnect herself from her own sexuality, she becomes very rigid in who she is, and she becomes very, oppressed in her own skin, in my opinion.
How, just question for clarification, because you're not a woman, you're a man. So your experience from your perspective, and, Sienna mentioned the male gaze. So, you witnessing and looking upon the women in your life, like, how have you seen that actually play out, Adam? So that you're speaking from your own experience.
Oh, wow.
He said, oh, wow.
I mean, because it's one thing to talk in theory, it's another thing to actually experience it straight on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. It's like, for me, it's like, I feel like you can't say this to a woman or you can't say that to a woman, because if you, say these things to a woman, it's like you're considered a creep or something like that.
Say what to a woman? That she should express herself sensually?
Or for example, I could tell a woman that she looks good or that she looks sexy, and then she'll take that as a slight when she disconnect herself from her own, sexual being, because I also put down in the chat that she becomes very ignorant of her own sexual being as well when she disconnect herself.
Laura?
I knew you was going to do that. Laura, get him.
No, not get him. No,
No, I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. But I do respect the position that he's coming from. And I know that walking down the street and have a man comment on my body, it all depends on how the comment is done. Because you can tell me I look good. You can tell me that, oh, I like what you're working with. But it's how it's done, to me, is the key. So if it's done in a very respectful manner, hey, sis, you looking really good today. But if it's simply not feeling that, not appropriate. Or, oh, I like how your ass is in those jeans. No, So I just want to clarify that. I love looking good. I don't mind getting comments and compliments from men. It's how you approach it.
Got you, because there have been some, including myself, that came off, very respectful, and she still took it as a slight. So I feel like I'm confused in that sense, because I'm telling you that you look good or whatever.
I understand what you're saying, and I can't judge it because I wasn't there.
Right, right.
For most women, it's all about the approach.
Right.
Yeah, I personally don't want to be told that I look sexy. I receive it from women, but with men, I'm just never sure where you're coming from. I look beautiful. You look gorgeous tonight. Those sorts of words. But sexy, to me, I'm just never sure. And when men approach me in the street, even when it is complimentary, I just wonder about how many women have received this energy. I'm like, if a man, I guess I'll never meet my husband in the streets, because if a man approaches me in the street, I'm like, you do this every day, all day, get out of here. So, that's my stuff though. Adam, I hear you. Once again, it's the words, it's the approach, it's the context. Us standing at the water cooler at work, and I work for myself, so there are no water coolers in my house, but you coming over, oh, you look sexy, shorty. I'm like, that's Dukes up. Like, what So I'm just saying context is key and intention.
Right.
Yeah. But thank you so much for sharing. I love that you hold space as one of the men that shows up consistently I think there was another brother that came in earlier, or maybe one of your guests, or maybe it was somebody who didn't change the name on their device. But thank you for being here, bro, and for your willingness to share. And Audrey Lord can be dropped in the chat every day, all day, as far as I'm concerned. So I appreciate you for bringing that in.
You're welcome, Shawnee.
Yes, Laura, we got hands. It's 8:37. Stacy has been holding steady. You want to hear from her before we pivot?
Yes.
All right, come on, Stace.
Grand Rising Queens and Kings. Oh, thank you so much for being here, Sister Laura. You have just such power in your presence, just like looking at your face. Just that's it. Like you're a whole mood, a whole energy by itself. Like I could put a picture of you on the wall and just be like, oh, Lord. Just want to acknowledge that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So what, and I came in on the conversation in Facebook late, and then I was like, okay, let me come in the house. Cause that's outside on the porch. I was like, let me come in the house in the Zoom. And then what I got for myself, what this was coming up for me, as far as just like women and celebrating of themselves, I recently had a conversation. Spirit was like just shared with my mother, which it didn't really start out as a conversation because we were both yelling at each other back and forth. This was like last week. And I was speaking about me going away. And automatically what she said to me was, what about Joshua, which is my son? What about Joshua? So I was like, well, what about Joshua? Like, I'm talking about me going away. So it started to escalate. And I have 3 other sisters, 2 who have children. One that's younger. And I said, as a matter of fact, you don't just do this to me. You do this to my sisters as well. I said, where's the celebration? Like, I don't feel any celebration from you. Like I was driving from Manhattan, I'm on the speedway. I said, I don't feel any celebration that you stop and say, wow, my daughter's taking care of themselves. Like anytime we say we're going to go on vacation or do something for ourselves, it's, oh, well, what about your kids? Where the kids go, wherever the kids go. And I ain't talking about the kids. I'm talking about me. That's my self-preservation. And I said, to be quite candid, I feel like you're hating. I feel like you're hating, like you're hating on me. And my mother's a Leo. She's like full fire. And she's like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't care, staying on her ground. And I got it. And then what I started to get for myself was like, wow, where don't we celebrate one another of our triumphs and what it is that we're passionate about, or just taking care of ourselves within our own family. Not to say that my mother doesn't. And at that moment, I realized, oh, this is something that you do. And then I actually called it out and I said, well, this is, I believe, something that you do. And we all have room for improvement. There's things that I can improve on, but I just want you to even take a look at how that may show up or impact your daughters, because you have old daughters. But it's like, hey, we don't have the time to do that for, like, worry about your kids. And maybe that's something that you did. So we were going back and forth. She's like, I'm not going back and forth with you. I'm going to watch my show, or whatever she said. And I just was like, Spirit just told me to shut up. So when she just kept on talking, I just was quiet. And we ended the conversation. And she just said, oh, okay, bye. And I said, okay, bye. So I pulled over and I took a deep breath. And I was like, what was that? Like all of that conflict. And I was like, wow, that's not what I'm committed to with my mom, that type of communication. And Spirit was like, yeah, so you got to call your mother back. I was like, well, I got to call her back. Like, why I got to call back? So I breathed, took some deep breaths, and was like, who am I being? Who am I committed to being? Even for us to have that flow of conversation as women, because this is also representing me and my sisters as well. So I did get back on the phone and I called her and I said, Mom, I want to first off apologize, because I get, how that was, that's not what I'm committed to, having a conversation with you like that. However, we all can take a deeper look within ourselves, because I didn't want to shoo away from what I did bring up and just like cover it with sugar, like, oh, and I'm gonna keep it moving. And I said, there still are things that we can take a look about ourselves to see where we can elevate and support each other when we see that there's an impact on the other person, to actually get, oh, wow, I have been doing that for like 30 years and it impacts my daughters. Wow, what does that look like? So I'm just asking you to take a look, just to take a look. And, and she was just like, well, we can agree to disagree. I said, yep, that's totally true too. And I'm here to be, any support or just be here so that we can have these conversations. And she was just like, okay, oh, Medea's on. So she was laughing in the background at something to Medea. And I was just like, okay, boo. Like, we'll talk later. And we just, hung up. But I just really wanted to bring that part out, because when we express ourselves and be who we are, you can feel slighted from people that's right next to you. And how do you speak up about it? And even though I was a little rash, I think I came back to it, but I'm not going to muffle my self-expression, even if it's with my mom, my sisters, because I have 2 that's elder than me. I'm not going to do it. No, not today. No. So thank you so much for this conversation. That came up for me, it kept coming up.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your share. I really appreciate it. Mothers and daughters. That's all I can say. Mothers and daughters. So much work to be done. So we are ready to pivot now, Shawnee?
Yes. So now
Okay.
you guide us.
Yes, I'll put up.
So I'd like to extend my special offer to 2 participants, one on Facebook, and it was number 10 on Zoom. So do we know who that person is for number 10? I am offering, I'm sorry, because I can't see, because, I still have now I can see. I have to just move the screen a little bit. So I want 2 people. I will give you 45-minute coaching session around any topic, so that you can be the best you can be, and so that you can fulfill your purpose. So it was number 10. Do we know who number 10 is?
Yes, let's see. Thank you, Laura. All right, Shawnee. I can't tell who the person is. Prayerfully, they'll be able to identify themselves once I say this. If not, I'll go to the person above. So it's LG Style 04. So whomever this is, you're not identified as a name in the space. You have your device as the name. So if you know that's you, if you can unmute and say whether you receive the what you've won, there you go.
Hey, thank you. I think it's me, Laura.
Hi.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you, Laura. Hello?
So do you accept?
I accept.
Okay.
Sure.
Looking forward to it.
Oh, thank you.
And who was the
Thanks.
first person logged in on Facebook?
It's Rukia.
Rukia. She can type in if she accepts, and we can talk to her later.
Yeah, so Rukia, just put in the thread on Facebook that you are a yes, if you are a yes, and if you're a no, then we can pick someone else.
So here is my contact information. On Facebook, it's Laura Joseph. On Instagram, it's smartwoman10. And you can email me at laurajoseph1844@gmail.com. So now we are going to move into love offerings and donations. We have Zelle and QuickPay at soulleadershipdevelopment@gmail.com, or Cash App Spirit of a Woman. And the code is 286LJ. Next slide.
All righty.
Aisha?
I have you. So tomorrow, Monday, March 22nd, we will have a frequent facilitator, but we haven't seen her for a while, return, and that's Cashel Campbell. And I'm like, oh, this must be Bible Week or the exploration of biblical connections. So we have Christ and Crystals, Spiritual Awakenings, Revelations, and Healings from a Christian Intuitive Medium. All righty, all righty. So Cashel Campbell. And on Tuesday, March 23rd, we're going to have Niamo Nancy, and she's going to be speaking on 9 principles to handle your mind on a dime. All right. 9 principles to handle your mind on a dime. I love it. I love it. So tune in, show up. So if you came today as a guest of Laura's, we invite you to come back in this space. And since we're talking about sensuality and sexuality, we like no hit it and quit it. No hit it and quit it. No one and done. You have to come back and keep engaging in this ascension process with us. So please do register to be part of the Wake Up community, and we'll share with you what to do so that you can do that. Be in the Facebook group and also receive notifications weekly about what we're up to and who is going to be facilitating throughout the week. So we invite all to return and be part of this process. And thank you. If you're a new member, just drop it in the chat. If you're new in the Facebook space, drop that in the thread post that this is your first time. I think I saw some names that I had not recognized before. So please do return and tell others. So our schedule, if you're new or if you need to be reminded because you are part of this seasoned community of Ascender, on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday, we meet from 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Sometimes we go a little bit over as we did today because the conversation is juicy. On Mondays and Wednesdays, it's from 7 to 7:30, and the same, no matter when you show up, you'll be blessed. All of the information, whether it's a short version of the session or long, provide a space for you to grow, for you to connect, for you to gain insight, and then also experience breakthroughs. And let's move ahead. So, yes, on Monday, March 29th, we are celebrating 365 days of awakening with the Wu Nation. It's hard to believe that we started last year during this time with this process. If I'm not mistaken, this week is the week that I started. This weekend, a year ago, I started reaching out to folks, asking them if they would join me for 30 days of Wake Up. And here we are on day 286. So I didn't lie. I just didn't know, right? I thought it was going to be 30 days, and here we are. So join us for a celebration, whether you're here for day 1 or you've been part of the 365-day journey like myself and Nija and just other folks in the space who have been on this journey since day 1 or day 2 or week 1 or the first month. Please do join us. And I'm not playing, y'all. I want to fill the house. I want to have the Zoom room popping and just folks just jumping in their boxes and dancing and stuff. We have DJ Sienna, who's going to be on the 1s and 2s. Like, we're really going to have a good time. And we're going to share some things about the behind the scenes of the Wake Up Everybody community, like the bloopers, the debriefs, the debacles, like all of this stuff is not seamless. Like, we're going to talk about that and laugh about it and experience joy as we prepare for the next 365 days. Please do get your swag so we can go to the next slide. Yes, so we have Wake Up Everybody Nation swag or Wu Nation swag that we're going to be wearing on the 29th. I see Charmaine is already wearing her t-shirt today, so I hope you're washing that before you wear it to the party on the March 29th. But I'm not in your business. I'm just saying. You can get your teacup, you can get your mask, whatever you get, your sweatshirt, your t-shirts, whatever you get, wear it on March 29th and come and celebrate with us and bring guests. Bring guests. Bring guests for our birthday party. And we want to thank you, everybody, for rolling over and tuning in, for sitting up straight, for being dressed and ready because you have some place to go, joining as you drive in the car, you on the train like Purple did, like really including this in your life and in your structures and in your rituals so that we can all grow and ascend together. So you look to the left and you see that bird ascending to the sun. Wake up, everybody. Like, there's an invitation to do this every day that you can. Watch the playbacks. Keep showing up for yourself. There is never too much growing to do, and we never stop until our last breath. And then technically we ascend even more once we die, right? So please do register for our Facebook page, bit.ly for our weekly e-blasts about the sessions for the week, bit.ly/wake up movement. Facebook is bit.ly/woo community, because we are a neighborhood full of awesome neighbors who have lots to say. So post about your journey with Jezebel, with Laura today, and the transformation of that story. So we want to be revisionist historians in the service of truth, right? So Instagram at Wake Up Everybody Virtual, YouTube, bit.ly/woo on YouTube, and email us if you have suggestions, questions, testimonials, info.wakeupseries@gmail.com. Just want to remind you, all this month we have been posting about wake up trivia, wake up testimonies, wake up speak, or woo speak, as we say, words we say and phrases we use in wake up. Please post, please share, and you can do an independent testimonial about your journey. Like yesterday, we asked, what transformation have you experienced as a result of wake up? So please do go on Facebook and respond to that inquiry. Maybe today was your transformation moment. You made up, I'm a whore, I'm a this, I'm a that, and now you recognize that you are fully self-expressed, or maybe there's something to look at, but no judgment, no shame, no blame, just about growth and development and transforming and stepping into your light every day. And thanks to Laura, today we get to do that. Let's move ahead with our celebration of Sister Laura. And so please do come off mute. We'll take the spotlight off of her, go into gallery view, and then we'll hear from the community about how you see. So let's hit it, family.
Thank you, Sister Laura.
Thank you so
Sister
much.
Laura. Thank you for
so
your
much.
Thank you for making us
Laura.
think about how
Conversation
we
has
view
been a
ourselves.
work
Thank
in
you, Sister Laura.
progress,
Release
long,
narrative.
beautiful,
We
lasting,
thank you.
finally
So
Thank you,
powerful.
Queen Laura.
fruition.
It's amazing. Glad you're there,
And that
everyone.
other women.
For bringing the
For your
stories
manifestation
of Jezebel of
of
light.
your wildest dreams.
Thank you.
I'm a Jezebel too.
Thank you.
Adam,
You
that's
have it.
that.
Reminding us about this
Taisha.
whole Jezebel
Thank
conversation.
y'all.
And
Love
how
y'all.
out here. Queen, loving it.
Yes. Love you, Laura. Love you. This is so awesome.
Thanks, Sister Laura.
Great conversation.
Love it.
Cannot
Look at that
wait for the second
smile.
part.
Let's celebrate it by giving
Look at that
family. That's
smile.
it.
Let's move forward.
Yes.
Bye, everybody. Have a great Sunday. Bye, Laura.
Great